So I basically trashed that whole thing, and I took too long, roughly the next year, to write the book myself. And I call that my $1 million mistake, because the first year I wrote the book, from literally the time I launched it, I launched my business at the same time. 1 year later, I was doing over $1 million a year in a terrible economy. And I was like, man, if I could have launched it a year earlier, I'd have made another $1 million.
Yeah, right? Of course.
So I learned some big lessons in all that pain.
Boom, 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 boom. What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolf and Joe Fier. Check it. So we were out in Florida a couple weeks ago, and we were hopping into an Uber. And
Ooh, don't do that.
And one of the guys that was in the Uber was today's guest. So
Really?
this is our Uber driver that we're bringing on today.
This Uber driver is pretty cool, man. Yeah. For some reason, we really hung out for like multiple days with this dude. Went to steak dinner with him, had some drinks, shared more rides with him, I think.
Yeah. No, he wasn't actually our Uber driver. He was also an Uber passenger, if you haven't caught on.
If you haven't caught on. Man, that was cool. Yeah, we was out at Rich Sheffrin's event in, I don't know if it was an event. It was live stream recording.
Yeah, it's an event.
Yeah, I guess so.
It was a gathering.
A gathering, more virtual, but yeah, about 30, 40 of us or so in person. It was a good time. That's where we met Mr. Rob.
Rob Kosberg.
That's right, Rob Kosberg. And I mean, to be very honest, we didn't know, who he was prior to, didn't know how freaking awesome of a business and solution he's built for folks. And that's what we're chatting about here.
Yeah.
So it's all about the book biz.
Yeah. So he teaches people how to, he helps people self-publish their book. He helps them get the book into PR, traditional media like TV and radio and on podcasts and all over the place. Yeah. And then he actually helps with the marketing of the book, including advertising and helping you build, helping you map out your funnels behind the book and all that kind of stuff. Pretty much everything around book promotions and how to make money off of the books. That's sort of Rob's expertise.
Yeah, it's called bestseller publishing is his solution to that. And Rob here on this episode, holy moly. All right, so I'm just going to say get the notes on this one.
Dude.
I'll tell you in a minute how to get those notes, but just put that in your mind. Just note to self, get the notes.
This is a master class. I feel like I use that a lot. I should really probably stop saying this is a master class, but You're
devaluing everything if you just call every single
Yeah, but we do a lot of master classes.
That's true. I guess
this one is an exhaustive resource.
Not exhausting.
Not exhausting. An exhaustive resource on the topic of how to get our book written, how to market the book, how to get into traditional media, how to build out free plus shipping book funnels, what technology to use, who to use for the printing and shipping,
what the offers are specifically in that free plus shipping,
and how to price them,
how to price it, what the offer should be like,
what your copy should look like, what elements to focus on your free plus shipping book landing page. Like, I think I told Rob as soon as we turned off the recording, this is the most densely packed gold nugget after gold nugget after gold nugget episode we've done in a long, long time. I don't want to devalue the other episodes, but this one is just tactical like a mofo.
Here's the cool thing, Rob, too. He's just down to earth, great, happy dude. Just does great work. Fun guy to hang out with. Loves his golf and cigars, and it's just in cars.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just sweet. Yeah, man. I mean, and then the fact that he has this, and he was so generous with his strategies and all of the insights he's had over the years with not only his own business, but just studying this for 13 years in the book business. I mean, he laid it all out. He didn't hold back. Every question we had, he had an in-depth answer. So, yeah. I mean, if you are even slightly interested in growing some authority and making a lot of sales on the back of a very, very simple funnel, this is the one for you. Mm-hmm. So besides that, shoot, what was I going to say?
I don't know.
I think that's about it.
Oh, we cover a lot. We should just get to the episode and let him cover it.
No need to say any more other than that. Get the notes. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I want to loop back to that. To get the notes. You can get them at hustleandflowchart.com/comp, COMP. hustleandflowchart.com/comp. There it is. Or you can text the word comp. What was that?
Comp.
There you go. To 38470. That's 38470. I do use a weird voice because Matt does that.
Yeah, sometimes. I just have a weird voice.
Oh, we were told that earlier today too.
Mm-hmm.
We have a similar weird voice. Yeah, so 38470 and text the word comp. You'll get the notes for free. Be quick because they go away in 2 weeks of this episode going live.
That's a fortnight.
That is a fortnight.
They go away in a fortnight.
No, we should start using that.
We should.
It's good. Sound fancy.
Yeah, people don't use the word fortnight enough.
No, it's rare. So that's about that. So before we go over there, we want to give a shout out to our buddies over at Ahrefs.
Ahrefs.com.
That place. You can actually get a 7-day, $7 free trial. That's $1 a day.
Go into your best announcer voice and sell it to me. Go.
This is the best SEO tool ever. I'm a shaky announcer.
That sounds like your timid voice.
A timid announcer. That'd be weird to listen to like a football game and announcing with next.
Hey guys, I think you might like this. It's really cool.
I don't think Ahrefs is gonna like this. All right, scratch it. So let's restart.
Okay.
All right.
Ahrefs.com, 7-day, $7 trial. It is the best SEO tool. We use it in our business. We used it long before they were ever a sponsor.
Like very long before.
It was just serendipity that they became a sponsor. I don't even remember how they became a sponsor, but when they wanted to be a sponsor, we're like, hell yeah, we use that.
Reached out because they love us.
Yeah, we're like, hell yeah, we use it in our business. But basically what Ahrefs is, it's an SEO tool. It allows you to do keyword research. So you type in a keyword, it'll give you a whole bunch of other keywords that you can go after. It'll tell you how much traffic it's getting. You plug in your own website, it'll keep on track of what words you're ranking for and the movement of those words in real time. So you can log in and be like, hey, am I ranking for hard-boiled eggs today? Oh, look, I'm on page 3 for hard-boiled eggs. Maybe
I'm ranked for bacon, and bacon is better than your eggs.
Yeah, but you're ranked on page 7. I looked on Ahrefs.
Shit.
So
I quit.
Anyway, go check out Ahrefs. It honestly is the best SEO tool. It's pretty much like it does everything when it comes to SEO, as far as like knowing what keywords to go after, knowing where you're ranking, finding new keywords, finding what keywords your competitors rank for, finding YouTube videos that you can go and try to rank for.
Matt, you're letting all the secret sauce out.
All right.
Leave some to be desired.
$7, 7 days. That's Ahrefs.com.
Yeah, man. So go get it. And they have a lot of cool tutorials there. So if you have questions on how to do all this fancy stuff that Matt was just spilling out at you, they'll actually explain it for free over there in their blog.
Yep.
So you'll love it. Ahrefs.com. Ahrefs.com.
That's Ahrefs.com.
Damn, that was good. Didn't even rehearse that. We're scarily similar. Okay. We're going to go away now and go chat with Mr. Rob. Rob, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Thanks. Great to be with you guys. Love it.
Yeah, we're back again. It's been a few weeks or something, huh? Since we hung out in Florida.
Yeah, that was 2 Florida trips ago for us.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right, because you went to Podfest.
That's right. Yeah, I saw you commented on some stuff with Dustin Matthews. And
I did. I love Dustin. You guys are buddies with Dustin down in San Diego. So, yeah,
right.
I love that you guys hooked up.
Shout out to Dustin Wellfit.
There it is. Love Dustin.
He listens, so hey, Dustin. Yeah, man, you're a Florida guy. Are you moving? Because I think you're making that move somewhat soon, right?
I am. We're going to open an East Coast office. I'm going to keep my West Coast office here in LA and open an East Coast office. I'm moving to St. Augustine, and I'm from Florida. I lived in Florida, 30 years of my life. So, it's a little bit going home for me.
Yeah, that's cool. That's special too. And now you can play all the golf you want out there and go crazy.
Well, I still got to work a little.
Oh, come on. You're going to save a lot of money on taxes and stuff. So there's like golf built in on this.
That is true. I'm more excited about saving money on taxes than I am about the golf.
That's true. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So we go way back to 3 weeks ago.
Yes, yeah, we really hit it off. We had a couple of really cool conversations and great dinners together and stuff. It was fun.
It all started because we just happened to all ride in the same Uber together.
Yeah,
I know with Wes Watson, man, and so then shout out to Wes, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that was really cool, man. I loved meeting him.
Yeah, him and the whole gang out there were, just for everyone listening, Rich Sheffrin's event, the Coalition to Save Internet Businesses. And
best name for
it's a long name. Surprised I got it off. Got it out in the first go.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
It's both the best name and the worst name, right? It's
right.
Like, what is that about?
Not the easiest acronym in there. CSIB, but it's all good. It worked out.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, let's I want to get our audience to know you a little bit. So, can you give us your backstory a little bit? How did you get into business and entrepreneurship, and how did you get to where you are today?
Wow, man, that's a big story. So I don't know how you guys want.
Start wherever it feels the most relevant to you to start.
Well, when you talk about entrepreneurship, it's kind of in the blood. I mean, my grandparents owned gas stations in Washington D.C. and I'm a car nut, and part of that is because from the time I was 18 months old, like I was like sitting on the hood of a car while my dad, my uncle are working on cars, and they raced cars and all that stuff. So I, being in their gas station and growing up was a great entrepreneurial experience. And then my dad owned real estate companies, and that got me involved in real estate, which was a like meteoric rise for me, right up until the time it was, a meteoric collapse, probably. Meteors come back to Earth, right? Yeah.
You just came back home.
Yes. I crashed hard in 2007, 2008. I had a business that was doing 100 million a year in transactions in real estate, mortgages, and closings, title insurance, and man, that just it dried up right when the financial collapse happened. Lending had completely frozen, and so that business, because of it, froze. And then that eventually led me to writing my first book, and back in 2008, and using that book to start a financial services company. Probably not the smartest thing to do during a financial collapse.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, wow, looking back, I'm like, really?
It's got to be a trendsetter somewhere. So that's you.
I know. Yeah. Trend of making bad decisions, perhaps. But that book led to the company, becoming a multi-million-dollar company, and people coming to me organically saying, "How the heck are you doing it?" Right? And I was like, "Yeah, my book. I mean, my book got me on radio, TV, speaking engagements, and that led to, lead generation and other ways to grow that business. And then that led me, to sell that business and start bestseller publishing. It's going on 9 years ago now.
That's wild. I mean, yeah.
That's a fast story. I mean, I just took you through since I was 18 months old to today. Wow.
Perfect.
I think you did really well. Yeah, better than most. Most would take the whole episode.
Yeah. We've definitely had people on the show who would take the entire hour to tell us that same amount of information. So,
well, I was afraid that, I don't want to tell too many stories here because I'm sure there are more questions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really what we want to chat about is more of the book publishing stuff too. So, I think that's a pretty good overview to let the audience know where the book business kind of started. So
yeah,
that's really what we're trying to do.
What was that first book that you published back then that got you going?
Yeah, it was called Life After Debt. And I wrote it in 2008. I made a lot of mistakes with it. I didn't know what I was doing. I actually wrote it on advice from Dan Kennedy. I was, part of GKIC before it was GKIC, and big fan and follower of Planet Dan forever and ever. And basically I asked, look, if you were in my position and, wanting to start a business in an industry where you're completely unknown, what would you do? And he was like, first thing I'd do is I'd write a book. And something just rang true to me that, okay, that seems to make sense. Mike Dillard also advised me. I was at a conference of his back in 2007, maybe one of his first ones, and he told me about magnetic sponsoring and that book that he wrote, and and so I kind of followed that advice and those instincts, and I wrote that book. And it was pretty terrible from the standpoint of not the book, the market, right? The environment was pretty terrible. And the book was just a game changer for me. I started using it to, I'm a hustler, so I worked hard with it. Like a lot of people write a book and then they just kind of cross their fingers and think it's going to just do magic by itself. But I knew that wasn't the case. And so I started hustling with it and using that book to get first like PR and media locally, which that was kind of my big break, believe it or not, which was odd. But
how so? Like, what was the break for you there?
Yeah, I used it. I sent the book out to a bunch of local radio, TV stations, media outlets, and I got a bite. from a program manager, and which of course you would, because the economy was terrible and stocks were down 50%. And so here's a guy who wrote a book, that's an expert, right? Because you're an author.
Because you're an author, yeah.
Yeah. And certainly, I took him up on the offer, and it was for like a 5-minute, Q&A on a local radio station, but a local radio station that had a pretty good, bite of the market. And that day I appeared, morning-ish, I think it was maybe 10, 11 a.m. Great interview. At the end of that interview, this is before free plus shipping or any of those things, right? Really kind of not pre-internet, but pre the internet we know of, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I said, look, and as a gift, I want to offer any of your listeners a free copy of my book, and I'll even ship it to you for free. And, like no cost. All I want you to do is either call the radio station or call my office. And I gave my office telephone number. And, we got, 10, 15 calls that day and a bunch of books. And I didn't know what I'd get, right? Would I get 1,000 and it would break me? I mean, who knew, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, that'd be a good problem to have. But that night they replayed that 5-minute spot. And I was in my office. It was about 6:00 at night, and the phone rings, and it's a lady, and she says, "Is this Rob Kosberg?" And I'm like, oh man, do I owe you money?
Yep.
Someone found me, and I said, yeah. And she goes, "Is this Rob Kosberg, the author who was on the radio?" And I was like, well, yes.
Sounding better, yeah,
sounding better. And we had about a 20-minute conversation. No selling involved at all, just serving. And she became a client, and it was worth about $6,000 to my company. That was the same day that I was on my very first media appearance.
Wow.
And I just thought, you know what, I'm on to something here. And within 6 to 8 months of that, we were buying airtime. I had my own 1-hour live radio show that ended up being 3 to 4 hours live a week, call-in show.
Wow.
And, we were spending at the height about $20,000 a month, which was a lot of money just on radio, but $20,000 a month plus all the other stuff that I was doing. And, the business was multi-7 figures, all from just offering a free book on the radio. Crazy.
So would you recommend, and it's kind of selfish actually, because my wife is just literally, she found a gap in the whole coronavirus thing right now. She's going to appear on a local TV show tomorrow, a news station. She has a book, and you're actually giving me a lot of ideas, but would you recommend something like this now?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. If it's any kind of mass market offer, my offer from 2007-8 would work today because it's a financial offer.
Sure.
And that's a mass market offer. Now, I still go on TV and radio and that kind of thing. I was on KTLA sometime back, and I offered my book in the free plus shipping funnel right on KTLA and Good Morning LA segment. I had like 50 downloads within 2 minutes just from that one. And of course that gets them into the funnel and all of that other stuff. But absolutely I would do that if I were your wife. 100%.
Nice. All right, I'll tell her that tonight when I go home.
Now, with that first book, did you write that book yourself, like the entire book, or did you work with ghostwriter or anything like that?
Yes to both of those things. Like I said, I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't know what I was doing. I only knew that based on what my English teachers had told me, I should not write a book myself.
That's dangerous, yeah.
Right? And so I hired a ghostwriter, and you can spend $150,000 for a ghostwriter. But typical ghostwriting is, it's mid 5 figures. It's $30,000, $50,000. And so I hired a ghostwriter, and I went through kind of what I would call the traditional ghostwriting process, which is more of an interview style process. I gave her what my table of contents would be. She asked me questions on those table of contents, back to me. This was about 3 months of interviews and then about 3 months of writing, came back to me with like a 180-page book. And after reading like 2 chapters, I was like, this is terrible.
Man.
It was terrible not because it was poorly written. It was actually well written. It was terrible because it wasn't in my voice.
And you knew that immediately. You're like, this
immediately,
is
right? I wanted something that was conversational, something that had my personality in it. And you can't get that from a standard interview process. Now, I learned later when I was starting bestseller publishing that's actually a really common problem. But the first person to experience it in my life was me.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start. Yeah.
Yeah. So I basically trashed that whole thing, and I took too long, roughly the next year, to write the book myself. And I call that my $1 million mistake, because the first year I wrote the book, from literally the time I launched it, I launched my business at the same time. 1 year later, I was doing over $1 million a year in a terrible economy. And I was like, man, if I could have launched it a year earlier, I'd have made another $1 million.
Yeah, of course.
So I learned some big lessons in all that pain.
That's a really cool story, though, and what a heck of a way to kick it off too. And I'm sure after that, did that open up the love and this whole model of offering it to other people? It sounds like, with bestseller came around.
Yeah.
And so how does, and maybe just like give us a little like overview of bestseller publishing and what that looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Love to. Thanks for asking. It's basically what I would have loved to write a check for, 13 years ago when I was starting this journey. So, we help people from concept to completed books. So all the ghostwriting, we have a dozen writers on staff that most of them are award-winning screenwriters here in Los Angeles. If you know anything about the business in Hollywood, they don't work all the time, right?
Yeah.
And they can be really talented, but be in between projects. So we have great talent. And then, of course, all the editing and formatting and design and publishing and distribution. Then we do the full book launch, paid ads and social media and press releases and all that stuff. Really hitting bestseller, like really making it happen, not for an hour and not in some narrow little category, but like
Amazon or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what people think of because there are so many scammers out there, but like legitimately. And then we also have 3 full-time publicists in my office here in Pasadena. And so we book our clients on real TV and media. We've had people on everything from the Howard Stern show to Reader's Digest and, you name it. And I've been on a dozen different TV shows myself. So, and tons of great podcasts also.
Yeah.
So it's kind of soup to nuts all around the book. And then of course, the next step for most of my clients is, how do I make money with the book? And so, we either coach them and teach them how to do that, or we can even do some of it for them, like funnel creation and guidance and coaching on that stuff. So it's fun. It's pretty comprehensive.
Oh man, I love the fact that you're probably taking some of the best writers in the world that are underutilized, and they're just sitting around waiting for work, and here you are, splat the center of LA. You're like, hey, I'll give you some work, and then you have this perfect solution too.
Yeah, do you want to keep waiting tables, or would you prefer to keep working in your craft?
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what it is for these people, right? They make pretty good money waiting tables, but who wants to do that when they could be working in their craft, making good money? And so, I like to think that we do good.
I remember Andre Chopra talking about doing that exact same thing for writing emails too. He hires people to write out of worked screenwriters to write email sequences for him. That's so
they're
smart.
the best storytellers, right? I mean,
that's exactly it. Yeah,
they've got to craft a great story for TV, for movies, and we don't need them to craft that story from scratch because they have the client there giving them the story. They just need to spice it up, juice it up, just say it in the right way. So it works great.
Nice. And how did you crack the code on the whole, making it your own voice or, the author's voice and all that? So what does that kind of look like in the process? That's
a great question. I'm almost never asked that question. So that's a great question. Yes. Nice job.
Score.
Go Joe.
No, because I tell that story, right? And I tell the story about it, and then people move right on to whatever else. Or like, okay, well, Rob answered it. No, I really didn't. I just said it's a problem. But the way we did it is we kind of crafted our own. I never saw anybody do this before, but I found that it worked for me. It worked for the first 5 to 10 authors that we worked with, and so we just kind of honed it. And the simplest way, there's lots of steps in the process, but the simplest way to describe it is we take every chapter of a client's book and look at it like a great TED Talk.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think of a great TED Talk, the best ones, and I mean, there's a whole industry built around teaching people to do TED Talks.
That's right. We know a few of them.
Yeah.
And they're needed because, bad TED Talk sucks, but a good one is
they
like,
do.
wow.
Yeah.
And so a good TED Talk generally has like a great story to begin that captivates the audience. Oftentimes there's an open loop, meaning they don't culminate the story, right? They kind of leave you hanging right on the precipice. Then they talk about what they've learned from the stories, the points, and then they come back around and they conclude the story, or they conclude it in some way to, kind of prove their point and make for a strong conclusion. And they're about 17, 18 minutes long, which is actually like a great length of a chapter. So I kind of saw this and I thought, since we want our clients to speak their book, not to write it, we thought, well, if they could speak it in this format and we could help them to craft the content in this format, then we have both content and context.
Right.
And it works beautifully.
Oh man, that's brilliant. I mean, that's because I've noticed just in the way that I write that, of course, the voice, if it comes from your voice, it's going to be the best possible thing. And just writing can flow, or ideas can flow in interesting ways. And it seems like you're basically capturing that in a creative way like this. And then you have all the mechanisms behind that to actually have it develop into a book that's cohesive and strung together nicely.
Yeah. I mean, what you have a big podcast. What do people love about your podcast? It's you guys. It's your story. It's your personality. It's your vibe. And so, it's the same as true with a book. I mean, you're writing a textbook. You do want to teach people, but you're not writing a manual. You want your personality to come out. And that's not easy, but it is possible with the right frameworks.
Yeah. No, it's good, and it's needed too, because there's a lot of dull and dry books, especially, we're talking about free plus shipping offers, and we're seeing those for a good reason because they work. Which I don't know if now is a good time to get into that, but
before we get into that, I actually want to touch on the PR aspect for a second, and maybe see if you had any sort of advice or tips for once somebody's got a book out, what's some easy ways that, or maybe not easy, but what are some ways that people can go about approaching media to help feature it?
Yeah, great question. It depends what kind of media, but we always tell our clients, look, if you've never been on radio, TV, even if your offer isn't like this mass market appeal offer, then you should get some radio and TV just for your own credibility and authority, right? Like if you're a financial advisor, then it might be easy, to reach an audience on television. But if you're, a roofer in Des Moines, and we do books for roofers and plumbers, you name it, believe it or not. But if you're a roofer in Des Moines, getting on TV in Los Angeles isn't exactly going to get you your target market.
No.
However, the people in Des Moines are going to be like, I mean, this dude wrote a book. He's a roofer. He wrote a book. He's appearing on television. Why would I go anywhere else? Yep. I mean, this guy is clearly at the top of his craft. So that doesn't answer your question, but
it's a good piece. It's a good starting piece because credibility, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want the media not just for the leads. You want the media for, a way to warm up leads in the future. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to like mass media, what we suggest is, you need a great hook, right? And sometimes your book isn't by itself, like the title of your book may be to a narrow audience. Mm-hmm. So you might have to broaden that a little bit and make it more appealing to more people. So you take your book, you broaden the hook of it, and you want that created in some type of like segment or what we would call one sheet. Mm-hmm. And we always suggest, look, you find the producer of a particular station, you send them a copy of your book to warm them up. No one does that. They email them, which is the easiest thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. But that's also the easiest thing to delete. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they won't delete your book if it's been sent in the mail. It will get their attention. So a little cover letter explaining who you are and that you're going to be in touch. And that will get their attention to the point where they'll take your telephone call. And once you have them on the phone, it's easy to get, to get a placement because they need credible people to get on mass media.
And they're always looking for content too, right? They're constantly searching.
Constantly. They have a voracious appetite for content. but they only want it from people that they don't want to let some crackpot on, right? That happen to get through. Generally speaking, if you get their book and you skim through it, you'll know if they're a crackpot pretty fast.
Well, we allow those on our podcast. I mean, we're talking to one. No, it's not you. No.
Clearly you do.
No.
So
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, from the perspective of media, what have you found to be the most effective between like radio, local media, mass market, going on podcasts? What seems to move the needle the most? Among the various media platforms.
Yeah, great question. Completely dependent upon the genre of the client, right? What the client is. Like for me, I don't think I've ever had one telephone call into the office from an appearance on TV or radio. And I've been on some pretty big TV markets like San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles. These are big markets. Yeah. However, I go on a podcast like your podcast. I've been on, Entrepreneur on Fire a couple of times, and I get clients from that because it's a very narrow marketplace. So the book offer is, write a book is not a great mass market offer. However, if you're a vet, right, a veterinarian, if you're a financial advisor, right, if there's some type of mass market for what your discussions are, stem cell therapy, doctors, chiropractors, then certainly radio and television will work for you, as well as the narrower media works great as well. We tell our clients always get on podcasts. Yeah. Just at least get some radio and TV to kind of even more establish your authority with your prospects down the road.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And then with that, any kind of appearance, you can now take that and repurpose it or rework it into other content to really plaster that everywhere. Really, all it takes is one pretty solid appearance from a pretty credible source, and then it's kind of, you can light it on fire and make yourself look a lot bigger than you might already be.
Yeah, and that's completely true. I mean, I said that my TV appearances didn't make the phone ring once, but that's not entirely true, because I've repurposed those television appearances and I use them as ads on my Facebook channel and Instagram and whatever, and that always attracts clients into our funnel. So
instant credibility.
It may not be, somebody watching at 8:30 in the morning, I've appeared, in West Texas. I've appeared, in the early days, I just wanted to get on TV. I was on 2 stations in Wichita. I mean, no one's calling from Wichita.
No.
But those appearances on social media work.
Yeah. Yeah, or even just putting them on landing pages and use them in just like editing them into your sales pitches and stuff to build the credibility. I mean, you see that all the time. It seems like it's pretty effective.
But do you have any? Because with TV and whatnot, I mean, how does it work? Because you have to ask them for a copy of the recording, or you can, I believe, from most of these places, so you can then use it in the future for yourself, right?
Yeah, you can. And there are services that will pull it for you.
That's right.
But for the most part, you can pull it right off of they're going to post it on their social media, and they're going to post it on their website as well to drive traffic to it. Plus, they're going to have an opening commercial and a closing commercial. So, and you can pull that, we pull that stuff for our clients all the time. It's easy to do.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Love it.
Now, back to an author just thinking about getting a book going. A lot of folks feel like you constantly hear it's like, oh, I'm going to write a book one day. I'm going to I got an idea for a book, but typically there's not like a vision of where this book's going to take them. So, what are some tips on the intention or the goal of a book and how you've seen it best applied to maybe a bigger business or a cause after the fact?
Yeah, great question. It's really like one of the first things we talk about with somebody, even before we get started with them, is what is your goal with the book? What are we trying to accomplish for you, for your business? Because if they don't know that, then it's really hard to satisfy them, right? It's hard to make them happy unless you just back up a dump truck of cash and put it in their house. I imagine that would make them happy, right? So we always want to find that out first. Those that are just thinking, well, I'm going to write the book and make hundreds of thousands or millions from royalties, they need to be told a kind of harsher, more honest truth that, look, it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way unless you're, a Stephen King or a J.K. Rowling and it didn't work that way for them in the beginning, right? I mean, they had to earn their way, so to speak. So for us, it's a client that has some kind of back end that the book is going to lead to. A financial advisor, when he gets clients, an average client to a financial advisor might be worth $10, $20, $50,000. To a real estate professional or real estate investor, it might be the same.
Mm-hmm.
To a coach or consultant, it might be $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000. That's a great number too.
Sure.
And so you can start just doing math. Okay, so here's 8 ways you can use your book to get, one new great lead or one new great prospect every single month that you can, sell your $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 thing to. And when you start adding like paid traffic and like real sophisticated methods to it, then it is like backing up a dump truck of cash.
Sure.
Right. I mean, literally it's like having an ATM when you add the more sophisticated methodology to it.
Yeah. No, it's great. So really just know that there should be a back end something to the book. And I guess that kind of leads now to.
So basically, the book's not going to make me rich by itself.
Dang it, Rob. All right, we're done here.
Man, I just lost the whole podcast.
Yeah, everybody just signed off.
But that's not what Tim Ferriss says. No.
That's right. So, I mean, maybe this does lead to the best ways that you've seen it now applied, and free plus shipping, something that we chatted about in Florida. A lot of folks use it. You said you've even recorded a lot of video recorded a lot of these funnels just to study them, but
I do.
It's let's talk about your experience around those and how people can apply that.
Yeah. I love obviously I love the free plus shipping model. When I didn't know what I was doing, the free plus free shipping model that I ran, brought me millions of dollars in revenue in and allowed me to scale a business in a really pretty bad economy. And, now I don't have the mass market, so to speak, to deal with, but we have tools now to target. So I, as said before, when we were talking, I mean, every time I see a free plus shipping offer of some kind that's been running for a little while, I'm buying it. And I'm going through their funnel. I want to see what kind of upsells they have, what kind of downsells they have. And ultimately, they're always leading to some type of high ticket offer, right? Yeah. Maybe it's continuity or maybe it's something that they're selling. And so, Russell Brunson is a friend of mine. He's paid us to do PR and media for him. I was part of his Inner Circle group for a number of years. We helped him launch his various books. And, he's built a company that arguably may be approaching $1 billion valuation, ClickFunnels, basically on the back of these free plus shipping funnels.
Wow.
Now that may be an example that somebody hears and goes, that's just him. And Russell is certainly, one of a kind, right? Yeah. But there are plenty of us. I mean, I shared with you guys my book. I probably run 8 to 10 different funnels at any given time. My book is one of those funnels, and that is led to about 3 million in profit over the last 3 million in sales, not profit, in revenue over the last 12 months. Wow. And it's hard to argue with that. We've probably in that period of time sold something like 15,000 copies, which means there's also 15,000 physical copies of my book sitting on people's desks. That has ultimately led to, great profit. And so there's other ways to do it with organic traffic and not a free plus shipping funnel. And we show our clients how to do it with speaking engagements, how to do it with media and PR, how to do it with organic traffic. But if you can add that gasoline to the fire, then man, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Now, have you noticed with the free plus shipping any sort of specific funnel elements that really work? Like after somebody grabs the free book, this is kind of the next best offer to put right after a book. So we've tried free plus shipping offers with our books. We have a couple books that we put out. We've never actually had really great success with them. We don't have them running right now. But I think, there's a few elements that we probably missed. So I'm kind of curious, what do you think is like the sort of best flow after the book?
Yeah, I love it. Great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. Also, I always tell people the first upsell should be an audio version of the book.
Smart.
So basically, book is number one, and free book, and compare it to on Amazon. Right now on Amazon, my book is for sale for $24.95, or you can get it from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
For nothing, just pay $7.95. So I'm competing against Amazon. From there should be one bump, and the bump could be maybe $17 to $37. And a bump is nothing more than a place that on the initial checkout page gives them, once they put in the credit card information, gives them an option to increase the value, to you, the seller, by getting something. Generally, my suggestion is, if you can find a way to put dollars back in their pocket, in other words, show them a strategy that will help them to make money with the book that you're selling them, that's a great bump. And then the first upsell being the audio version of the book. And that by itself is a great funnel. You can leave it just right there and go into the next step, which is to sell your high ticket thing, which generally you want to do on a telephone call or maybe an automated Webby or something like that.
Yeah, it could be a scheduling thing or an application right after that upsell. I mean, that's so simple, like for anyone to do. And I can imagine, even if you don't have that high ticket offer, it's a great way to liquidate all your costs for marketing to get that lead, or a buyer. Really, it's more than a lead. So you're literally getting kind of free leads, ideally, or buyers that you can then follow up with. And luckily, at that point, you've already built your trust and you got some good stuff that you can kind of give them. Yeah,
the only caveat I would say is, in the beginning, you might even be making money on the front end with your funnel. And that's what we were doing in the beginning. I was like, OMG, this is like the greatest thing ever. Because, we spend a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money is relative to people, but we spend $50,000 to $70,000 a month on paid traffic on Facebook and YouTube and Google and sometimes LinkedIn and other things. And I was making that and another 10, 15, 20,000 bucks and getting all these leads and apps. I was like, this is amazing. Now, unfortunately, that ended. So we go in the hole on the front end. We liquidate a portion of the cost. But the beautiful thing about it, I'd say there's two things. If you do have a high ticket thing on the back end, a buyer, someone who pulls out their credit card, is, for us, we've done the math, 16 times more valuable than an email opt-in. So I need 16 email opt-ins just to equal one person that gives me $7.95.
Wow.
And so the math there just works in the favor. Even if you're going in the red on the front end, the math works in the favor of the person that's the buyer, as opposed to the email opt-in.
Well, that should just make it a no-brainer. I don't have the math on top of my head, but just the fact that, like, if you don't have a book, and especially with a book and a funnel like this, if you're just capturing leads, it's going to be way more expensive, a lot more work to get to the sale, the ultimate goal you're trying to get them to. This basically bypasses and shortcuts that whole thing and makes selling on the back end way easier.
It is, and there's so many things you can do. I mean, we have, a little ashamed of this, but we generally just wait for people to fill our application out and then get on the phone with them. And I told my guys, I'm like, guys, we're getting 1,000 to 1,500 buyers a month. How about if you have some free time calling them?
Go figure.
How about? And of course they do sometimes, and they don't most of the time, because their schedules are pretty filled, right, with the apps getting them. But just recently we basically set aside, a new person that is making those outbound calls, and we're closing deals with people that just got too busy to, actually fill out an application and follow up. But they've read the book, or the book is sitting on their desk, and they were interested. So, there's so much you can do, when you have those kinds of leads coming in.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now, what kind of price point would you sell an audiobook upsell at?
Good question. So, it depends what you're pairing it with. So what I always suggest is the audiobook by itself, if you have nothing to compare it to, meaning there's no, like bonus with the audiobook, then they're thinking of it like Audible, right? You can get an Audible for 10, 12, $12.95, something like that. So you want to, as much as you can, like, put yourself in a completely different category. So what we do is we offer like this 6-step training class that we put together. It's actually, I used to do these 2-day events. I haven't done one in a couple of years, but I've done dozens of these 2-day events, and we professionally recorded it all. It's 6 different classes, and wrote all this copy on it, and so we sell that for $47, and we get about a 20% take rate, 18-19% take rate in thousands of sales. So 1 out of 5 basically say, here's another $47.
Sure. Yeah, and then I know the bumps usually convert really well, at least the ones that we've used before, and those are typically like a little lower priced. I'm sure it's about like under $50 typically is what I've seen.
37. Our bumps are 37. We have a couple of different bumps. When all is said and done for us, an average client to us, average cart value, right? Someone that comes in thinking they're just going to give us $7.95, on average gives us just under $40. So I can spend $40 to acquire that person and basically break even. Yeah. And again, we go in the hole a little bit, but not too terribly much.
Not terrible. No, this is so cool. And I'm sure, if I ask this question of, do you need to have a publisher for your book? Your answer is probably a big fat no, I would assume.
No,
like a traditional publisher.
Yeah. Traditional, yeah.
Yeah, traditional publisher. First of all, a traditional publisher generally is going to write you a check, and oftentimes that check is a small check, unless you have a giant audience. You have a giant audience, then they'll write you a big check, but that's because you're going to go to work for them, right? You become an employee, and they got you on the road for a year, hawking your book. You're going to get to keep 50 cents to $1 of it, and they keep the rest of it. And so most of my clients don't have, a giant platform and audience, even though these are, in some cases, 8-9 figure businesses that they run. Yeah. But they do it without a giant Facebook profile. Who knew that you could make that much money without Facebook? But no, you don't need that. And unfortunately, that check that they write you comes with a lot of baggage. Like you don't own the rights to the book, and not owning the rights to the book means that you have to buy the book from them, and that oftentimes makes it too expensive to run a free plus shipping funnel. So you want to own the rights, and you want to get a fulfillment company to do all the printing for you, and then it makes it simple.
And I think in most of those scenarios too, that sort of like upfront, signing bonus or whatever they call it, that money, you essentially still owe them that money back in book sales, and you'll never see a single royalty on your book sales again until you surpass that amount of money that they originally paid you. So
exactly. And good luck trying to use that book in any way in the future, or even, the theme of it, right? The title of it, the content of it, the images of it, right? You have sold it. And you sold it for whatever that dollar amount is. And unfortunately, people do that all the time for like $5,000, $10,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. Which is nuts.
Wow.
It's crazy.
They just don't understand the implications of it. Yeah. Or
they don't know what they're doing.
Confidence in marketing, or a simple model, just like you laid out here. That could be completely life-changing like it was for you.
Yeah, well, there's a reason that like publishing houses have their names at the top of big buildings.
That's right. It's like casinos, right?
Making a lot of money here, and it's not the author.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious, how involved are you in like the landing page building and like the ads and all that kind of stuff? Is that like your team's handling that, or do you kind of have your hands in a lot of that stuff too?
I like that stuff. Like I have my hand in it. I enjoy it. It's kind of, if I didn't enjoy it, I probably could outsource it. But my first hire when I moved to California nine years ago was a guy that is still with me every day in my office. Steve, he's fantastic, my director of technology, and he and I work together every single day. New funnels, new offers. How are the ads doing? What's going on? I just love it. Yeah. I love it. You don't have to.
Well, that's like me. Like that's me in our business. I still do the media buying, and I still build a lot of our landing pages. So I'm with you there. I really, really enjoy it. But the reason I was asking that was I was curious if there was like certain types of landing pages that you've seen to make the book sell well, because I've sort of noticed a kind of trend in the design of these free plus shipping. It seems like, there's a sales video on the top, there's this sort of checkout on the right, and then there's kind of like long form sales copy to get somebody to pay you, $6 or $7.95, which I always thought was very interesting. Like, why do you need so much copy to sell something that's, seemingly an impulse buy almost.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, we've tested a lot of different things. There's kind of two genres, right?
Mm-hmm.
One genre is what you just described, and the video is really important, by the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you need a strong video. I've seen some people with really weak 1 to 2 minute videos, and their percentage is too low to make it profitable.
Yeah.
So you need a great video, and yeah, you do need strong copy, and you need, we have tons of videos and people hold their books up, and all this social proof.
Yeah.
The other genre is like what you've seen Kern do, which you see a number of people do it, and it tends to do really well too, and that's literally no video, but it is a long form sales letter basically that leads to the purchase as well. We've tried both, and the video, whether I just like video or I feel like I'm more comfortable on video, that tends to convert better for us. And that's what Brunson uses. And you see a lot of people really successfully using that more than just the long copy.
Yeah. I've always just found it so interesting because it's, for me, like I'll land on a free plus shipping page and usually I'm just like, the headline got me, bye,
$7.
100%. Yeah. Well, that's who we are, right? We're we're the guys that are in that world, so we're just buying, and I'm buying and recording. So
it's almost like buying to learn, the process more than the actual content in some cases.
Yeah.
Totally, like all those books behind you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're saying they're all free plus shipping. None of them have ever been read. It doesn't read. It looks like it.
So then going to the ads, is obviously on Facebook you got video ads and image ads and lead ads and all the various types of ads. Is there anything that you've noticed works better than other things for driving traffic into these book funnels?
I'd love to tell you the ads are complicated. They're not. The best ads for us are like book flip ads, right? So like where, we have a book that, just shows a cover. It shows like one of my female employees just opening the book and kind of flipping through it. That just kills.
Man.
Wow.
Does it require like diagrams and pictures, or is it literally just flipping through text pages?
It's literally flipping through.
Wow.
We have a couple that are with diagrams and pictures, and those do really well too. But like the book flip ad works really good. You've probably seen a ton of people that actually like their books on Fier.
I don't think I've seen that.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen one of those either, actually.
Payne June is running one right now for Russell Brunson's new Traffic Secrets book.
Okay.
And Russell did it really successfully. Any great testimonial videos with people holding your book up, especially if they're an influencer, that works really, really well. But it's simple. For us, it's video. Sometimes it's image, but again, it's image of the book itself, and it's not complicated. And the copy is really simple, and just here it's free. Just pay for a small shipping charge. It's not rocket science.
Love it.
I like that answer.
No,
we don't need rocket science answers.
I mean, when I hear answers like that, it just makes me think, I probably overcomplicated it last time, and that's probably the problem.
Likely so.
I mean, we do try, a lot of different creatives. But ultimately, the ones that work great for us are the ones with people holding the book up, flipping through the book, that kind of thing. And it's, and the copy is simple too.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, the whole model just seems like a closed loop system in a way. It's start, finish here, promotion. A lot of folks have some kind of offer that they're trying to bring qualified folks in the door with. And it's kind of like this podcast, if you can get someone to really understand how you speak and who you are, the credibility is there, packaged up in a book, there's a video, and then there's an opportunity to actually get some personal time or some high touch element for a high price. I mean, you're probably likely to convert really well. Without anything complicated.
Probably just like this podcast, there are people, just last week, a client, overseas, long way away, lives in the Middle East. And he had already become a client and wired us a very, very large sum of money, full pay. And he wanted to have a one-on-one with me, which I'll do with some of my clients. I don't do it with every single one, but if they request it, of course. And so we did a quick video. And first thing he did is he held up my book and he's like, Rob, I read it cover to cover. And when I filled out the application, I knew I was just going to get started with you. I knew you. I knew your team was who I wanted to work with. And I'm like, first of all, how hard was it for the sales guy to close that deal, right?
Exactly. That's easy money.
It is, but there's this familiarity, right? They begin to get to know you. That's happening without you even knowing it's happening. Right. And people come, not everybody, of course, but some people come, with just wire transfer, check in hand, credit card in hand, because they just know I've been ready to do this. You're the people I want to do it with.
Yeah. And the book just built up that credibility and sort of
it did all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Right?
Further solidified, this is the person I want to work with.
Yeah.
I love it.
100%.
I love it.
And that's what we kind of experienced, a smidgen of that, not with leading with the book, but with the podcast. And we had a mastermind at Podfest, last week. And, we had about almost 20 people there that paid quite a bit. It was 4 figures for most folks. And it was great because it was all on the back of this podcast. It was a very trust thing. I mean, it wasn't more than a couple emails for most people. And then the ones I couldn't attend, they're like, oh my God, I'm just kicking myself. I couldn't travel or something. I'm like, it's just cool when you have a group of people that are really into what you have and they just trust you. It just makes the selling process much easier. And honestly, I think there's better action taking from their point of view as well, when it's someone that they trust as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they listen to your podcast. They like you. That may be the first step. They get to know you. They like you. And then eventually, as they see your success and say, well, they're offering something that I want. They're good at it. I know them and like them already. It's done.
What else do you need?
There's nothing else needed, right? It's just, okay, how do I pay? Where's the button?
Yeah, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
which for the longest time, we weren't hanging that button around. We're like, what is wrong with us? That's true.
So I think the last kind of little rabbit hole I want to go down is maybe a little bit on the tech side of things. I'm assuming you're using ClickFunnels. I think the sales page I saw was ClickFunnels. So what does it look like when somebody goes through that offer? Is there somebody sitting there waiting for the order to come in and they're putting a book in an envelope and shipping it off? How is the fulfillment handled after somebody orders a book?
God, no, not that way, because man, no one would get their books if it was happening in my office.
Well, Bob tries to do it for you.
Yeah, my dog tries to do it, but he puts the books up. No, we use a guy in your area, Mike Fredericks, for all of our fulfillment. And we used ShipZoom in the past, and they were good. There's several other fulfillment houses. We love Mike because, first of all, Mike's an awesome guy, but they do all the printing for us. It's connected to ClickFunnels, so everything's integrated. As soon as the sale is made, they know it. And yes, there's somebody on their team that is taking a book out of inventory, putting it in in an envelope, and shipping it out usually the next day. And so all of that is outsourced. It cost us about $7.50 to $8 to print, fulfill, and ship one book. And so literally what we're saying, $7.95 is what it cost us to ship and fulfill that book. And all of it is completely hands-off for us.
And that's in the U.S., right? So will you ship outside of the U.S. or is it only...
We do. We used to advertise heavily outside the U.S., the free plus shipping offer, and charge $14.95 for that. We don't do that as much. We do ship here to Canada. The biggest problem was that it was taking so long that we got so many complaints and so many people were like, where's my book? And my book didn't come or whatever. And so we felt like, okay, U.S. is 300 million people. I think we can find a few clients there.
Right.
So we focus on U.S. and Canada.
Yeah. I think we're using lulu.com to have our books fulfilled. I mean, I don't really have an opinion on them. They do the job, but we're always kind of shopping around and seeing if there's better alternatives out there.
I guess the point being
You'll love Mike.
Yeah.
You'd love Mike. Great guy.
Cool. And he's in San Diego too?
Yeah, he is. Maybe it's Irvine. He's in SoCal. So
in between us.
Newport, Irvine, Laguna, somewhere down there. I've never been to his place, but great guy. And we totally connected first before we started doing business together. And and I love the work they do for us.
Yeah, and I always kind of prefer working with sort of people versus faceless companies in any way. So,
Always.
Me too.
yeah.
Well, we just got to get that going. Got to get a book out there. Then this is the next plan.
Or relaunch one of our existing books and make it work this time.
Make it work.
That'll work too. That's right. If you got a book hanging around, then relaunch it and
do it
some
right.
cool things with that.
You got the model now.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, so what's the future look like for your company, or do you have any other books of your own coming out?
Oh yeah. I got 2 I'm working on right now. The one that we use is Publish, Promote, Profit. That's kind of our primary book, and that gives the whole kind of our whole trademark system.
Hold that in the screen really quick so we can get a little screenshot.
Yeah. That's
There it is.
Publish,
Nice.
Promote, Profit. The
Go
new
grab
rules
it.
of writing, marketing, and making money with a book.
Nice.
That's our whole kind of process. Tons of case studies and examples in it. I'm writing a book on how to write a legacy book, because I think that that's a really big market that is underserved.
Yeah.
Man, should I say that to all your people? Man, someone's going to knock me off now.
You're leading with the good stuff, man. It's all good.
And so I'm writing that book, and I'm also writing not quite a funnel book,
Mhm.
but something along the lines of using a book to make money, using a book to grow your business, with just the focus on after the book, what happens. So those are 2 that I'm working on right now. Legacy book's pretty close, and we'll probably launch that in the next 2 months.
I think that would be a hit. I mean, I would assume the legacy market, I mean, shoot, who doesn't want to leave a mark or even write it for their kids alone, and just say, hey, that's my dad's book, my mom's book right there. And,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done some books for some pretty, big time wealth advisors and financial advisory people, and they always have the legacy element in their books. And so I got to talking with one of them, and he said, you would be shocked the number of wealthy people, and obviously there's more baby boomers that are retiring, 10,000 or so a day, and they're passing on, I think, some ungodly amount of money to the next generation, like $7 trillion. Wow. But unfortunately, I mean, he was telling me, he's like, look, after Pawpaw is dead, the next generation doesn't even like that person is forgotten.
Yeah, quickly too. Yeah.
And it's not that they're not loved. It's just that you move on with your life. And so I just thought, man, I mean, wouldn't these people want, like, I would like that from my ancestors. You know what I mean? I would like something where I could read about them from 100 years ago or even just 50 years ago. I don't have anything like that. I just thought they're passing on the wealth, their financial wealth, but they're not passing on their real wealth, which is their life lessons, their story. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, look, maybe it fails, but I just thought it's what I would want. So maybe someone else does too.
I think it's going to be good. I haven't heard of anyone doing that. And if it
makes me think of the Gary Halbert letters, right? All of those were essentially written to his son as like his legacy.
That's right.
So yeah.
Well, I'm writing a book for my kids too, called Things You Should Know. I think I said all these things, but I'm not sure that they know any of them. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write these things down.
You have no excuse now.
That's right. I know I taught you this stuff, but just in case, here it is in writing.
I'm even going to do an audio book so you can't get rid of me.
That's right.
That's good, man. Well, Rob, this is cool. And so I think that touches everything that I had on.
Oh, yeah. I think we covered a ton of ground.
Right? We got to... And you're bummed. I know you didn't golf today. Got rained out.
I know. I played 8 holes, but I was soaking wet like a wet rat, and I was playing well too. I'm like, man, I wanted to stick around. I know, but you're right. I'm a little bummed about that. But happy to be with you guys.
Yeah, no, this is cool, man. So what's what was asked, but what's a book that you actually recommend to others that you find yourself maybe going to often, or you just give out more often?
It's always something new for me, personally. And we might have talked about this before or not, I don't remember, but my favorite author, maybe ever, is C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis is just one of the most brilliant thinkers of the 20th century, I think. And most people think of him, for his fiction, but his nonfiction is just amazing. It obviously, spiritual focus. But very, very cool stuff. So I always talk about C.S. Lewis because I read C.S. Lewis almost every day.
Wow.
The stuff that I'm reading right now is the stuff on my shelves. Probably the only other one that I love that I've read recently is Jordan Peterson's, 12 Rules.
Yeah.
12
I love that book. I love his thinking. Some people, I don't want to politicize it in any way. It's not about politics, but I just love the way he thinks. And I love how, I have 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know that. And they're young men. And so, he speaks a lot to young men. And so I often think about my boys, and I think about, how sometimes growing up in this society and in social media and this culture is so much harder for them than it was for me. And so what Peterson speaks about and what he's written speaks to me because I think about my kids.
And his episodes on the Joe Rogan show are really good too.
Oh man,
they are awesome. I watch them over and over, man.
Same, I have to.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him. I mean, he's such a brilliant thinker, man. I mean, just so brilliant.
Very needed right now, as you said. Yeah, with a lot of distractions, I think you need that solid hey, this is what you need to show up in the world like. So
I totally agree.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, awesome. I love that book.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up. Where should folks go find you, explore more, maybe dig into one, find your book?
Yeah, obviously the best way there is publishpromoteprofit.com. They can always find more about me on my website, which is bestsellerpublishing.org. People always ask, why isn't it .com? Well, I own the .com too, but I started with the .org because the .com wasn't available 10 years ago. And then
I questioned Matt too. I was like, it's interesting. You don't see a lot of orgs, but I love that you have both and you kept the org.
Yeah, I kept the org and I just send all the traffic from the .com to the .org. So
there you go.
Yeah, it does the trick.
Hey, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I was actually telling
traffic anyway, so it's not SEO.
Yeah, that's true. It's even better. Well, awesome, man. Rob, appreciate your time, man. And I know we'll do some more stuff together. And I love the model and everything you have. So it's something most people, as Matt just shut off his computer. Can't see anymore.
Put the screen to sleep by accident.
There
We're
we
good
go.
now.
I just think what you have there is super powerful, man. And anyone who has, some kind of high ticket thing or just wants to get more qualified buyers in the door, this is the thing for them.
Yeah.
That's what
Thank you. Really, really appreciate you guys. Loved spending time with you guys in Florida. Just felt like we hit it off and seemed like we had so many things in common. So thank you. Thanks for the offer for me to be on the podcast and have more fun with you guys.
Of course, man. Well, pet Bob for me down there.
I don't know if you heard him. He barked a second ago. So he was like, I want to say hi.
Yeah, attaboy. Good boy. All right, Rob. Well, have a good one, man.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning into that episode. I hope you dug it. I know Joe and I dug it. I actually kicked Joe out of the room. He's not here right now because I wanted to tell you about a tool that I really, really dig. We use it in our business. We recommend it all the time. It's called Easy Webinar, and it's a tool that lets you do live webinars, automated webinars, hybrid webinars, and, pretty much any other kind of webinar if there are other kinds of webinars. But anyway, this tool is kind of like your all-in-one, do-it-all tool for anything webinar related. It's Easy Webinar. It's put out by a dude named Casey Zeman. He's been on the podcast. If you haven't listened to that episode, it's a killer episode. He's a really smart dude, but his software is amazing. It does everything. It's, the title tells you exactly what it does. It's an easy webinar platform. And we use this in our business to run automated webinars all the time. We don't do a lot of live webinars these days. We like to do the kind of automated webinars where somebody can register and then they can either watch it like 15 minutes later or they can watch it the next day, but it's just kind of always running. And it's a system that helps us make autopilot sales off of our webinars. Super cool tool. If you haven't tried it yet, it's an amazing tool. And Casey is actually hooking you up. He said for listeners of Hustle and Flowchart, I can't believe he's doing this, but he said for listeners of the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, he's giving 25% off of the membership to use Easy Webinar. It's already super, super inexpensive for what it does and all the cool features it has, but he's hooking you up with 25% off because you're a listener of Hustle and Flowchart. Go to easywebinar.com/hustle. That's where you can get that 25% off discount. That's easywebinar.com/hustle. It's a awesome tool. You're going to dig it. So just go grab it. Check it out. easywebinar.com/hustle. See ya. No, not see ya. You'll hear me in the next show. I don't know how to close these things. Go get Easy Webinar. Talk to you later. Thanks everybody for listening to this episode of the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Before taking the time to listen, we want to give you something a little bit special. Every single episode that we do, we actually have somebody on our team take notes. We basically have a Cliff's Notes version of every episode where you can go and find all of the tips and tactics that they laid out, all of the resources that they laid out, all the good stuff from this episode. We actually have a nice simple notes version that you can find on our website. So go to evergreenprofits.com, find this episode that you just listened to, and give us your email address and we'll send you the notes. Thanks for listening.
Go get it.
Wiki.